Imagine a world where everything is made new, where the brokenness of our current reality is transformed into something breathtakingly beautiful. What does the Bible really mean when it speaks of a new heaven and a new earth? Is it just a distant hope, or a promise that has profound implications for our lives today? Join us as we unravel one of Christianity's most powerful and mysterious promises, exploring its deep theological roots, its impact on culture and history, and what it means for your faith and future. This is not just a vision of the end, it's a call to live with purpose now. Welcome to today's episode of Gaming Sim Life, where we embark on a journey through one of the most profound and hope-filled concepts in Christian theology: a new heaven and a new earth. This idea, rooted in ancient scriptures, promises a future where the brokenness of our current world is transformed into something entirely new. A renewed creation where heaven and earth are brought together in perfect harmony. In this episode, we'll explore the theological foundations of this promise, its philosophical and ethical implications, its influence on culture and history, and how it resonates with personal faith and communal life. We'll also take a look at how different religious traditions view the concept of a renewed creation. So, whether you're a theologian, a philosopher, a student of religious studies, or someone simply curious about the deeper meanings behind these ancient promises, this podcast is for you. Let's dive into this exploration of a new heaven and a new earth, and discover the hope and transformation it offers to our understanding of the world and our place within it. Theological foundations. To truly understand the promise of a new heaven and a new earth, we must first turn to the sacred texts that have shaped this idea throughout history. Central to this concept are passages from the Bible, particularly from the books of Isaiah and Revelation, where the vision of a renewed creation is vividly described. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet speaks of a future where God will create new heavens and a new earth. Isaiah 65 verse 17 reads, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind." This passage, written during a time of great turmoil and suffering for the people of Israel, offered a powerful message of hope and restoration. It spoke of a future where the pain and struggles of the present would be forgotten, replaced by a new reality shaped by God's redeeming love. In the New Testament, the book of Revelation expands on this vision. Revelation 21 verses 1 to 5 provides a detailed and awe-inspiring picture of the new heaven and new earth. The Apostle John writes, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.'" These passages, rich in imagery and promise, have inspired countless generations of believers to look forward to a time when all of creation will be renewed. But what exactly does this renewal entail? How do different Christian traditions interpret this promise? The idea of a new heaven and a new earth is deeply intertwined with Christian eschatology, the study of the last things or the end times. It represents the culmination of God's plan for creation, a plan that begins with the fall of humanity in Genesis and ends with the full restoration of all things in Revelation. But the specifics of how this renewal will unfold have been the subject of much debate and interpretation within the Christian community. Let's explore some of these theological perspectives. In traditional Christian theology, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is seen as the fulfillment of God's redemptive work through Jesus Christ. Theologians often view this promise as a literal future event, where the physical world we inhabit will be transformed and renewed. This new creation is not merely a spiritual realm, but a tangible, physical reality where God's presence is fully realized. However, there are differing views on how this transformation will occur. For example, some Christians hold to a premillennialist perspective, which teaches that Christ will return to earth before a 1,000-year reign, during which the earth will be renewed. This view emphasizes a dramatic intervention by God, leading to a new era of peace and righteousness. In contrast, Postmillennialists believe that Christ's return will occur after a 1,000-year period of Christian prosperity and influence. They see the new heaven and new earth as the culmination of God's work through the church, bringing about a gradual transformation of society. Amillennialists, on the other hand, interpret the 1,000-year reign symbolically, viewing it as the current age in which the church exists. For them, the new heaven and new earth represent the ultimate fulfillment of God's kingdom, realized fully in the future but already present in a spiritual sense. Despite these differences, there is a common thread that runs through all these interpretations: the belief that God's plan for creation is one of restoration and renewal. This promise offers hope to believers, assuring them that the pain and suffering of the present world are not the final word. Instead, they look forward to a future where all things are made new, a future where heaven and earth are brought together in perfect harmony. As we reflect on these theological foundations, it's important to remember that the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is not just a distant hope, but a central aspect of Christian faith. It shapes how believers understand the world, their purpose within it, and their relationship with God. Philosophical and ethical implications. While the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is deeply rooted in theology, it also raises profound philosophical questions. What does it mean for creation to be renewed? How does this promise influence our understanding of time, existence, and the nature of reality? And what ethical responsibilities does it place on us as human beings? To begin with, the idea of a renewed creation challenges our conventional understanding of time and history. In many philosophical traditions, time is viewed as a linear progression, a sequence of events that moves from past to present to future. But the promise of a new heaven and a new earth suggests a different view of time, one where history is not simply a series of events, but a purposeful narrative guided by divine providence. This leads us to the question of ethics. If a new heaven and a new earth represent the fulfillment of God's plan for creation, then what ethical responsibilities do we have in the present? How should we live in light of this promise? This perspective has significant implications for how we understand the world and our place within it. If history is moving toward a divinely ordained goal, then our actions in the present take on a new level of significance. We are not just passive observers of history, but active participants in God's plan for creation. This leads us to the question of ethics. If a new heaven and a new earth represent the fulfillment of God's plan for creation, then what ethical responsibilities do we have in the present? How should we live in light of this promise? One of the key ethical implications of this promise is the call to stewardship. Throughout the Bible, humanity is given the responsibility to care for creation. In Genesis, God commands Adam and Eve to fill the earth and subdue it, and to have dominion over all living things. This dominion is not a license for exploitation, but a call to responsible stewardship, an invitation to participate in the care and cultivation of the world. In the context of a new heaven and a new earth, this call to stewardship takes on even greater significance. If the present world is to be renewed, then our actions in the present have a direct impact on that future. We are called to care for the earth, not just for our own benefit, but as a way of participating in God's plan for creation. This ethical responsibility extends beyond environmental stewardship to include social justice and personal morality. The promise of a new heaven and a new earth is a vision of a world where peace, justice, and righteousness reign. As believers, we are called to work toward that vision in the present, seeking to bring about God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. But how do we balance this call to action with the belief that the ultimate renewal of creation is a divine work, not something we can achieve on our own? This tension between human responsibility and divine sovereignty is a central theme in Christian ethics. On one hand, we are called to be active participants in God's work, striving to bring about justice, peace, and healing in the world. On the other hand, we recognize that the full realization of a new heaven and a new earth is beyond our power. It is a gift of God's grace, not something we can accomplish through our own efforts. This tension can be seen in the way Christians have approached issues like environmental conservation, social justice, and personal morality. For example, the environmental movement within Christianity often emphasizes the importance of caring for the earth as a way of participating in God's plan for a new creation. At the same time, there is a recognition that the ultimate renewal of creation is a work of God, not something we can achieve on our own. Similarly, the pursuit of social justice is often framed as a way of living out the values of God's kingdom in the present. Christians are called to seek justice, defend the oppressed, and work for the common good as a way of anticipating the new heaven and new earth. Yet, there is also an understanding that true justice and peace will only be fully realized in God's future kingdom. As we reflect on these philosophical and ethical implications, it becomes clear that the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is not just a distant hope, but a call to action in the present. It challenges us to live in a way that reflects the values of God's kingdom, to care for creation, to seek justice, and to live in harmony with others. But it also reminds us that the ultimate renewal of creation is a work of God's grace, something we can only fully experience when God brings all things to fulfillment. This tension between human responsibility and divine sovereignty is a central theme in Christian ethics, and it shapes how we understand our role in the world. Cultural and historical impact. The promise of a new heaven and a new earth has not only shaped theological and philosophical thought, but has also had a profound impact on culture and history. From the art and literature of the Renaissance to the modern environmental movement, this vision of a renewed creation has inspired countless works of creativity and activism. Historically, the idea of a new heaven and a new earth has played a significant role in shaping Western civilization. During the Middle Ages, this promise was often depicted in religious art, where scenes of the Last Judgment and the New Jerusalem were common. These images served as a reminder of the ultimate goal of history, the restoration of all things in God's kingdom. The Renaissance saw a renewed interest in these themes, as artists and thinkers sought to explore the beauty and mystery of creation. The idea of a new heaven and a new earth was often depicted in paintings, literature, and architecture, where the glory of God's creation was celebrated and the hope of renewal was vividly portrayed. For example, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, with its stunning depiction of the creation of Adam and the final judgment, reflects the Renaissance fascination with the idea of renewal and restoration. The ceiling's imagery captures the tension between the present world and the hope of a future renewal, where God's creative power is fully realized. In literature, works like Dante's Divine Comedy explore the journey of the soul from the present world to the new creation. Dante's vision of the celestial paradise, where heaven and earth are united in perfect harmony, has had a lasting influence on Western thought and imagination. Similarly, in the modern era, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth has inspired movements for social change and environmental conservation. The idea that the present world is not the final reality but will one day be renewed has motivated many to work for justice, peace, and the care of creation. In contemporary culture, the concept of a new heaven and a new earth continues to resonate. It is often reflected in popular media, where themes of renewal, redemption, and the struggle between good and evil are prevalent. From films that depict apocalyptic scenarios to novels that explore the hope of a better world, the idea of a renewed creation remains a powerful and enduring theme. Moreover, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth has had a significant impact on social and political movements. The belief that history is moving toward a divinely ordained goal has inspired movements for civil rights, environmental justice, and global peace. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. drew on the imagery of a new heaven and a new earth to inspire hope and action in the struggle for justice and equality. As we consider the cultural and historical impact of this promise, it's clear that the idea of a new heaven and a new earth has been a source of inspiration and hope for countless generations. It has shaped the way we understand our world, our history, and our future, offering a vision of a reality where all things are made new. This vision continues to inspire creativity, activism, and reflection, reminding us that the world as we know it is not the end, but the beginning of something new, a renewed creation where heaven and earth are brought together in perfect harmony. Comparative religious perspectives. While the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is central to Christian theology, the idea of a renewed creation is not unique to Christianity. Many religious traditions have their own visions of a future where the world is transformed and perfected. In this segment, we'll explore how different religions understand the concept of a renewed creation and how these views compare to the Christian promise of a new heaven and a new earth. Let's begin with Judaism, the foundation of the Christian faith. In Jewish eschatology, the idea of a renewed creation is closely tied to the concept of tikkun olam, or repairing the world. This idea emphasizes the human responsibility to partner with God in bringing about a future where justice, peace, and righteousness prevail. In Jewish thought, the Messianic age is often seen as a time when the world will be renewed, and all of creation will be restored to its intended harmony. The prophetic visions in books like Isaiah and Ezekiel describe a future where God's presence is fully realized on earth, and all nations live in peace. While the specifics of this vision differ from the Christian concept of a new heaven and a new earth, there is a shared hope for a future where creation is renewed and perfected. Turning to Islam, we find a similar emphasis on the renewal of creation in Islamic eschatology. The Quran speaks of the Day of Judgment, when the present world will be transformed, and a new creation will emerge. In Surah Al-Zumar 39:68, it is written, "And the trumpet will be blown, and all who are in the heavens and all who are on the earth will fall dead, except whom Allah wills. Then it will be blown again, and at once they will be standing, looking on." In Islamic thought, the concept of paradise, or Jannah, represents the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan for creation. It is a place of eternal peace, beauty, and joy, where believers are rewarded for their faithfulness. While this vision differs from the Christian idea of a new heaven and a new earth, both traditions share a belief in a future where creation is renewed and perfected. Eastern religions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, offer different perspectives on the idea of a renewed creation. In Hinduism, the concept of cyclical time is central, with the belief that the universe goes through cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction. The end of one cycle leads to the beginning of another, with each cycle representing a renewal of creation. In Buddhism, the idea of samsara, or the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is key to understanding the concept of renewal. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to break free from this cycle and attain nirvana, a state of liberation and enlightenment. While the concept of a new heaven and a new earth is not present in these traditions, the idea of renewal and transformation is still central to their understanding of existence. As we explore these comparative religious perspectives, it's clear that the idea of a renewed creation is a common theme across many traditions. While the specifics of how this renewal will occur and what it will look like differ, the shared hope for a future where creation is restored and perfected is a powerful and enduring theme. This exploration of comparative religious perspectives not only broadens our understanding of the concept of a new heaven and a new earth, but also highlights the universal human longing for renewal, restoration, and a better future. Personal and communal reflections. As we bring our exploration of a new heaven and a new earth to a close, it's important to reflect on what this promise means for us personally and communally. How does the hope of a renewed creation shape our faith, our actions, and our relationships with others? On a personal level, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth offers hope and encouragement in the face of life's challenges. It reminds us that the brokenness and suffering of the present world are not the final word. Instead, we look forward to a future where all things are made new, a future where pain, sorrow, and death are no more. This hope can be a source of strength and comfort in difficult times. It encourages us to persevere in our faith, to trust in God's promises, and to live with a sense of purpose and anticipation. It also challenges us to examine our own lives and consider how we can live in a way that reflects the values of God's kingdom in the present. On a communal level, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth calls us to live in harmony with others and to work together for the common good. It challenges us to build communities that reflect the peace, justice, and love of God's kingdom. This means caring for those in need, seeking reconciliation with others, and working for justice in our communities and beyond. The idea of a renewed creation also has implications for how we relate to the environment. If the present world is to be renewed, then we have a responsibility to care for it in the present. This means being good stewards of the earth, protecting its resources, and working to preserve its beauty and diversity for future generations. Finally, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth invites us to look beyond ourselves and consider how we can contribute to God's work of renewal in the world. Whether through acts of service, advocacy for justice, or simply living out our faith in everyday life, we are called to be active participants in God's plan for creation. As we reflect on these personal and communal implications, it's clear that the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is not just a distant hope, but a call to action in the present. It challenges us to live in a way that reflects the values of God's kingdom, to care for creation, to seek justice, and to live in harmony with others. In conclusion, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth is a powerful and hope-filled concept that has shaped theology, philosophy, culture, and personal faith for centuries. It offers a vision of a future where all things are made new, a future where heaven and earth are brought together in perfect harmony. As we move forward in our own lives, may this promise inspire us to live with hope, purpose, and a deep sense of responsibility. May it encourage us to care for creation, seek justice, and build communities that reflect the peace and love of God's kingdom. And may it remind us that the brokenness of the present world is not the final word, but the beginning of something new, a renewed creation where all things are made new. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the concept of a new heaven and a new earth. We hope this exploration has deepened your understanding and inspired you to reflect on what this promise means for your own life. Be sure to tune in next time for another thought-provoking episode of Gaming Sim Life. Until then, take care, and may you be filled with hope and peace as you live out the promise of God's kingdom in the present.